Scream 6 is now out playing in theaters. Sam, Tara, and all their friends have left Woodsboro behind them and have moved to New York City. Unfortunately, they've got a Ghostface there too, and he has a score to settle with Sam and Tara. Will these characters ever catch a break? Alright, so right off the bat, not burying the lead, the Ghostface sequences in this movie were fantastic. This is a very brutal, malicious, ruthless, and aggressive Ghostface. Honestly, this is the most terrifying Ghostface has been in this franchise for quite some time. Every sequence that features Ghostface is so masterfully crafted in its tension and suspense. I was on the edge of my seat for a large majority of this movie because of how well they depicted this Ghostface as just being completely unpredictable and unforgiving. The filmmakers, the performer, and the voice work of Roger L. Jackson really came together to make a Ghostface that stands out among all the other Ghostfaces that we've had before. Even the stature and the way that this Ghostface holds himself and moves himself around is so very intimidating. It's frightening. Anytime he's on screen, I loved him. They nailed it. A+ on the Ghostface. And the film also has some creative fun, taking advantage of putting this Ghostface in his new playground of New York City. The way that they utilized this new setting for Ghostface honestly led to some pretty anxiety-inducing sequences. Like the subway sequence that is heavily featured in a lot of the marketing for this movie. When I was watching that in the marketing, I was thinking to myself, come on, there are tons of people and cameras in New York City. If Ghostface is going to do something to them, there's no way he'd realistically be able to get away with it. But the way that they executed this scene in the movie as it played out, they made it feel believable. They made it feel like it was something that could actually happen in the real world. And in that, they made this sequence that much more terrifying and horrific to me. It was one of my favorite ones in the entire movie. But what's a Ghostface without the fresh meat? Alright, so beside Courtney Cox returning as Gale Weathers, who we'll talk about in a minute, none of the original legacy characters returned for this sequel. And they really hedged all their bets, resting this franchise on the shoulders of the new cast who we met in Scream 5. And I thought that actually ended up being a really great choice. With this movie, I think this cast has officially outgrown needing the legacy characters. It's officially their franchise. I thought they were a lot of fun this time around. This new group of friends, or the core four as they're deemed in the movie, they were given the chance to have their dynamics develop a little bit more in this film. And I actually really ended up liking this group of characters together. They weren't just bodies that I was waiting for Ghostface to come and slash up this time around. I genuinely cared for a lot of them. I wanted to see them get out alive, and for that reason, when they were in danger because of Ghostface and their lives were threatened, I was actually concerned, which is like, what? That doesn't usually happen for me in a Scream movie. Of course, of the newcomers, Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega as Sam and Tara are the standouts of this film. As far as I'm concerned, these actresses have officially proven that they can carry the Scream franchise and be the faces of it going forward. Their characters were given a lot of opportunity to shine and really show the bond that these sisters had, way more than they got to showcase in their first outing in Scream 5. And I found that the sisterly bond between these two characters is where the heart of this franchise is definitely lying going forward. And it's actually the most heart that I think has ever been brought into the Scream franchise. They also gave each of these characters an individual struggle that made them way more interesting and sympathetic as characters, which made them a lot easier for me to get invested into and root for. But like all the Scream movies before, this movie, it's not perfect. It falls into familiar tropes and familiar formulas that we've seen in Scream movies of the past. Ghostface, he still takes a lot of hits that would easily incapacitate any human being alive, and Ghostface being a human being, you can see where my point is. There are logical errors, things that just don't make sense when you think about them, timelines that don't really add up when you think of the character was here, but then the movie's telling me that they were there at the time that they were. It just doesn't make sense. There were also some repetitive beats that were recycled from previous Scream movies, and granted, to give the movie credit, they do call this out, but it doesn't change the fact that I was sitting there like, didn't we already see this before? And going back to the inclusion of Gale in this movie, I felt she was pretty unnecessary to the story overall. She really only has one significant piece of information that she contributes to the story that easily could have been given to another character, and you wouldn't have missed Gale at all in this thing. Her biggest contribution to the film is honestly just adding to the overall runtime, which at just over 2 hours long did feel a tad bit too long if you ask me. In the end, Scream 6... it's another Scream movie, but I felt that there was a genuine attempt at trying something a little bit different, that the film still overall had this feeling of refreshness brought to the franchise. Like many installments before it, I had fun with this film. I was very entertained. I walked out feeling pretty satisfied, and I'm gonna give Scream 6 a solid recommend. Anyway, guys, those are all my thoughts and opinions on Scream 6, but I want to hear from you. What did you think of Scream 6? It's been out for a little bit. I'm sure you've seen it, so comment down below and let me know all your thoughts and opinions on this movie, guys. I'd love to hear them. If you didn't know, we have a subscriber goal for the year on this channel. We want to hit 2,500 subscribers by the end of the year, so if you're new here and you like talking movies, we do that a lot on this channel. You're in the right place. Consider hitting that subscribe button and hitting that like button on the way out. It helps the channel out a lot. We'd love to have you join our community over here, and I hope to talk to you guys again real soon.